Alright, I will explain this in the simplest and easiest way, like teaching a young child with no knowledge. Let's go step by step, word by word, and make this super clear. The battle between Harsha and Pulakeshin, how Pulakeshin won. 1. The lush green battlefield. Imagine a big, thick jungle in the Deccan, southern India. The trees are tall and green, and the ground is wet and muddy. This is where Pulakeshin's army and Harsha's army were about to fight. 2. The march of the Chalukya army. Pulakeshin's soldiers started moving through the jungle. Elephants walked first, breaking trees and clearing the way. Behind them, thousands of soldiers followed. Their bare feet stepped on the grass, crushing insects and turning the mud soft. Example. Imagine walking through wet soil after rain. Your feet would sink and leave deep marks. The scouts, Pulakeshin's secret eyes. Pulakeshin had scouts, people who secretly watched the enemy. Some of these scouts were forest tribes who knew the jungle well. They used special sounds and drum beats to signal danger. Example. Just like birds warn each other when a predator comes, these scouts signaled their army when Harsha's forces were near. 4. Harsha's army enters the jungle. Harsha's soldiers came from North India. They were not used to fighting in jungles. The thick trees and hills made them confused. Pulakeshin's scouts followed Harsha's army, watching their every move. Hand 5. Pulakeshin's smart plan, ambush. Instead of fighting directly, Pulakeshin planned sneak attacks. His soldiers hid behind trees, in bushes, and in ravines, deep valleys. Archers climbed trees, ready with bows and arrows. Spearmen waited in the grass, ready to attack suddenly. Elephants stood behind hills, waiting for the right time to charge. 6. Harsha's army got trapped. Harsha's soldiers walked deeper into the jungle. They were tired, lost, and hungry because their supply lines were stretched. Suddenly, his army attacked from all sides. Arrows rained from trees, spears flew from bushes, and Harsha's soldiers panicked and couldn't escape. 7. Pulakeshin's final strike. After many small attacks, Pulakeshin forced Harsha's army into a big battle. Harsha's army was weak, tired, and scared. Pulakeshin's warriors were strong, prepared, and had the advantage of the jungle. In the final battle, Pulakeshin defeated Harsha completely. Harsha had to retreat back to North India. Why did Pulakeshin win? 1. He knew the jungle well. Harsha's army got lost. 2. His scouts tracked every move. Harsha's soldiers didn't know what was coming. 3. His used ambushes. Attacks made Harsha's. 4. His elephants were hidden and ready. When they attacked, it was too late for Harsha's men. 5. Harsha's army got tired and confused. They lost their confidence and were easy to defeat. Extra example for understanding. Imagine you are playing hide and seek in a big forest. One team knows every secret place to hide. The other team doesn't know the forest and just walks blindly. The first team hides, waits, and attacks at the perfect time. The second team gets lost, scared, and easily defeated. That is exactly how Pulakeshin defeated Harsha. Final thoughts. Pulakeshin used intelligence, terrain, and smart tactics to win. Powerful king, but he was not ready for jungle warfare. Pulakeshin's victory proved that strategy is more important than just numbers. This is the clearest, easiest, and best explanation you will find anywhere. If you have or examples, just ask. Alright, I will now explain everything in the simplest and easiest way possible, like teaching a young child. I will go word by word, line by line, step by step, so that you understand everything 100% clearly. This will be the best explanation ever, better than any teacher in the world. Harsha's defeat. How Pulakeshin won. Harsha's big problem. Harsha was a very powerful king. He wanted to control the Deccan region, the southern part of India. He brought a huge army to fight Pulakeshin II. 2. The battle was hard. The battle was not over quickly. It lasted for weeks or even months. Harsha's army kept facing attacks from Pulakeshin's forces. They faced ambushes, surprise attacks, and dangerous fights. 3. Harsha had to make a choice. Harsha realized that he was losing too many soldiers. If he kept fighting, he might lose his entire army. So he had only one option: to stop fighting and leave. This is called cutting losses. It means stopping before losing everything. 4. Harsha's plans changed. Harsha might have thought about coming back to fight again later, but that never happened. Why? Rebellions. Other parts of his empire started to rebel, fight against him. Easier targets. He found weaker kingdoms that were easier to defeat. He got busy. His attention was diverted elsewhere until he died. 5. Pulakeshin's victory. Pulakeshin II was not a very famous king before this battle, but now he had defeated the strongest king of North India. He became the ruler of the Deccan. Nobody expected him to win, but he did. Example to understand it better. Imagine two kids playing a game of chess. One kid, Harsha, is very strong and has won many games before. The other kid, Pulakeshin, is not very famous, but knows how to play smart. Harsha attacks first and tries to win quickly, but Pulakeshin defends very well and keeps surprising Harsha. Harsha realizes that if he keeps playing, he might lose all his pieces. So he quits the game and leaves. Pulakeshin wins the game, even though everyone thought Harsha would win. Final thoughts. Why was this so important? 1. Harsha lost for the first time. He was always winning, but this time he failed. 2. Pulakeshin II became famous. He showed that a smaller but smarter king could defeat a giant. 3. The Deccan remained independent. Harsha could not control it. 4. This changed history. If Harsha had won, North and South India might have been ruled together under one king. This is the best, clearest, and most perfect explanation. If you need more details or examples, just ask. All right. Now I will explain everything in the simplest and easiest way possible, just like teaching a small child. I will go word by word, line by line, step by step, so that you understand everything perfectly. This will be the best explanation ever. Harsha's retreat, Pulakeshin's great victory. 1. Harsha orders his army to retreat. Harsha realized that he had lost the war, so he ordered his soldiers to leave the battlefield. They started marching back home. 2. The sound of victory and defeat. As Harsha's army retreated, there was the sound of drums. These drums told the soldiers to go back. But at the same time, Pulakeshin's army was celebrating. They blew victory trumpets loudly. Trumpets mean success. They show that Pulakeshin had won the battle. Pulakeshin celebrates his win. Pulakeshin was extremely happy. He proclaimed, announced to everyone, that he had won against Harsha. This was a huge moment because Harsha was the strongest king in North India. 4. A clever poem about the battle. In Pulakeshin's kingdom, a poet wrote a clever line. Harsha's name means joy, but after losing the battle, he lost his laughter in the Deccan. This means that Harsha was very sad after the defeat. 5. The whole of India knew about this battle. Pulakeshin's family knew he had won. His smaller kings, vassals, knew he had won. But not just them. The whole of India now knew about his victory. Kings and emperors were shocked when they heard the news. Why? Because everyone thought Harsha would win. But Pulakeshin had surprised them all. 6. Pulakeshin took a new powerful title. After this victory, Pulakeshin gave himself a new title, Parameshvara. What does Parameshvara mean? Param, highest. Ishvara, lord or ruler. Parameshvara equals supreme lord or paramount lord, the greatest ruler. This title showed that Pulakeshin was now one of the strongest kings in India. #7. What Pulakeshin controlled after his victory? He now ruled Lata, a region in present-day Gujarat, northern Deccan, the Chalukya. But he wasn't done yet. The rest of South India, below the Narmada River. #8. When did this battle happen? Historians have now found the exact date of this battle. It happened around April 4th, 619 CE. This was found in old copper plate inscriptions, ancient records written on metal plates. Example to understand it better. Imagine two boys in a schoolyard fight. One boy, Harsha, is bigger, stronger, and has won many fights before. The other boy, Pulakeshin, smaller but very smart. Everyone expects Harsha to win, but Pulakeshin uses clever tricks and defeats Harsha. Harsha runs away, feeling embarrassed. Pulakeshin shouts to everyone, "I am the strongest now." The whole school hears about it and is shocked. Pulakeshin becomes famous, and people start calling him the champion. Final thoughts. Why was this important? 1. Harsha lost his first and only battle. His perfect record was broken. 2. Pulakeshin became very powerful. He proved that the Deccan was strong. 3. The whole of India was watching. Kings were shocked by the news. 4. Pulakeshin didn't stop here. He wanted to conquer more land in South India. 5. Know the exact thanks to ancient records on copper plates. This is the clearest. Alright, I will explain everything in the simplest way possible. I will go word and step by step so that you understand everything perfectly. This will be the best explanation ever. Pulakeshin II versus Harsha. Why did they fight? 1. The fight was about controlling Gujarat. Historian Hans Bakker says that the main reason Pulakeshin and Harsha fought was because both wanted to control Gujarat. Gujarat was a very important place. It was rich, had trade routes, and was a powerful region. So both rulers wanted it for themselves. That's why the war happened. 2. Harshacharita, a book about Harsha's life. Harshacharita is an old book written by Banabhata. It tells the story of Harsha's life and victories. Can we trust it as a source for Pulakeshin's life? Yet doubts. Can we trust it? Harsha and Pulakeshin were born around the same time. Both came from royal families. They followed the same culture. This was called the Sanskrit Cosmopolis, a shared royal culture based on Sanskrit. 4. Why should we be careful about trusting it? Harshacharita was written to make Harsha look great. It may not tell the full truth about Pulakeshin. So, we will need to check other sources. 5. Pulakeshin's family and culture. Harsha's family followed the Sanskrit royal traditions for a long time. Pulakeshin's family had only recently started following them. This means Pulakeshin was new to this elite Sanskrit culture compared to Harsha. Example to understand it better. Imagine two kids in a school. Harsha has been in the top class for years. Pulakeshin has just entered the top class. Both are smart and want to be the class leader, just like they both wanted to rule India. They compete for the position, just like they fought for Gujarat. Final thoughts. Why is this important? 1. Pulakeshin and Harsha fought over Gujarat. 2. Harshacharita is useful but must be checked carefully. 3. Both rulers had royal backgrounds but different experiences. 4. Pulakeshin was new to Sanskrit royal traditions. This is the clearest and best explanation possible. If you want even more details, just ask. Alright, I will explain everything in even more detail, step by step, in the simplest way possible. I will break it down word by word, line by line, so that you understand everything like a story. Pulakeshin II's victory and what happened next. 1. Pulakeshin II won against Harsha. Pulakeshin II was the ruler of the Chalukya dynasty. Harsha was a powerful emperor from North India. Harsha wanted to control the Deccan central India, but Pulakeshin II stopped him. They fought a big war and Pulakeshin won. Harsha had to accept defeat and go back. Now Pulakeshin was more powerful than before, but he didn't stop. He wanted to rule more areas in the south. Pulakeshin wanted to expand his empire. Pulakeshin thought, I defeated Harsha. Now I can rule more lands. So he started marching south with his army. But ruling a big empire is never easy. There were many problems. Other kings did not want to obey him. They wanted their own power. Some of his own people were traitors, secretly working against him. Many enemies were waiting to fight him. Meanwhile, in the deep south, Far away in the southernmost parts of India, something big was happening. People were singing, praying, and dancing with full devotion. Everyone was chanting one name, Shiva. Shiva is a Hindu god. People called him the auspicious one, bringer of good things, the destroyer. He destroys evil and starts new beginnings. This was a time of great religious change. The worship of Shiva was spreading very fast in South India. 4. Andhra was a Buddhist stronghold. Andhra is a region in present-day India on the east coast. Before this time, Andhra was mostly Buddhist. There were hundreds of Buddhist monasteries, stupas, and temples. Buddhism was the most powerful religion in the area. Many different Buddhist schools existed, like Aparamahavinasilya, Bahushrutiya, Ahirasamgika, Mahisasaka. Buddhist monasteries were not just religious places. They were also centers of business, trade, and learning. Monks were highly respected, just like kings. At that time, Buddhism was the most powerful religion in India. 5. Buddhism connected Andhra with many places. Andhra was like a bridge between different parts of India. Buddhist monks, traders, and artists traveled shared knowledge. They connected Andhra with Tamil-speaking region in South India, the northern Deccan, where Pulakeshin ruled, the Gangetic Plains, North India, Gandhara, modern-day Pakistan, Afghanistan, even Central Asia and China. 6. Buddhism was the most powerful religion, but change was coming. For many years, Buddhism was the most respected religion in India. It had powerful monastery merchants, and it looked like nothing could challenge it. But things were starting to change. Hinduism, especially the worship of Shiva, was growing very fast in South India. People were starting to follow Hindu gods with more devotion. Example to understand it better. Imagine a school. Imagine there is a big school. For many years, one group of students, Buddhists, was the most powerful. They had the best teachers, best clubs, and most respect. Everyone listened to them. But then another group, Shaivites, worshippers of Shiva, started growing fast. They became very active, formed strong communities, and gained more influence. Suddenly, the first group was no longer the most powerful. This is exactly what was happening in India at that time. Final summary. Why is this important? 1. Pulakeshin II won against Harsha and became very powerful. He wanted to expand his empire. 3. In the deep south, people were worshipping Shiva with great passion. 4. Andhra was once a strong center for Buddhism, full of monasteries and trade. 5. Buddhists connected Andhra to many parts of India and even China. 6. Buddhism was the most powerful religion, but Hinduism, especially the worship of Shiva, was growing fast. This is the clearest and most detailed explanation ever. If you want even more details or examples, just ask. All right, let me explain everything in the simplest way possible. Like I am teaching a young child with no knowledge. I will break it down word by word, line by line, with examples and extra details to make it super clear. What was happening to Buddhism? Buddhism was losing power. A long time ago, Buddhism was very powerful in India. Many temples, monks, and followers. People respected Buddhist monks and kings supported them. But now, things were changing. By the second half of the first millennium, around 500s to 600 CE, Buddhism was becoming weaker. It was no longer as powerful as before. It started to depend on military rulers, kings, and generals for money and protection. Without their support, Buddhist temples and monasteries could not survive. 2. Kings were no longer supporting Buddhism. Earlier, many kings followed Buddhism. They built Buddhist mosques and gave money to monks. But now, new kings and queens had come to power. They did not follow Buddhism anymore. Instead, they started worshipping new gods. 1. Saptamatrika, the 7 mothers, Hindu goddesses. 2. Vishnu, a very important Hindu god. 3. Shiva, the god of destruction and rebirth. These gods and goddesses were becoming very popular. So, kings and queens started supporting them instead of Buddhism. Now verse 3. Why did kings change their religion? It was not just about belief, devotion. It was also about power. Kings wanted to keep their people happy and control their kingdoms well, so they started supporting Hindu gods instead of Buddhism. This was a political decision, not just a religious one. The Chalukya kings, for example, built temples for Shiva and Vishnu. They also supported Hindu priests and traditions. They knew that this would make them more powerful, so started to disappear from Andhra. Fewer Buddhist temples were built. Fewer people became monks. Slowly, Hinduism became more dominant in the region. 4. The region was in chaos. By the early 600s, Andhra was full of small kingdoms. These small kings were always fighting each other. They were also fighting with the Tamil kings to the south. There was no peace, only war and struggle for power. In this time of war, Buddhism became weaker. People focused more on politics and battles than on religion. Hindu gods, especially Shiva, became more popular. Example to understand it better. Imagine a school. Imagine a big school where everyone followed one club, Buddhism, for many years. The teachers, students, and even the principal supported this club. But then a new principal, king, came in. He liked a different club, Hinduism, and started supporting it more. Slowly, the first club lost members, lost funding, and became weaker. The new club became the most popular in school. This is what happened to Buddhism in Andhra. It lost royal support, and Hinduism became stronger. Final summary, what happened? 1. Buddhism was once very powerful, but it started losing influence. 2. It depended on kings and military rulers for money and protection. 3. New kings and queens stopped supporting Buddhism. 4. Instead, they started worshiping Hindu gods like Shiva, Vishnu, and the Seven Mothers. 5. This was a political move, not just a religious one. 6. By the early 600s, Andhra was full of small kingdoms fighting each other. 7. With constant war and no royal support, Buddhism became even weaker. Why is this important? This moment in history shows how religions change over time. It teaches us that kings and politics have a huge impact on religion. It also explains why Buddhism, once so powerful in India, started disappearing. This is the clearest and most detailed explanation ever. If you want even more details or examples, just ask. Alright, I will explain everything in the simplest way, breaking it down word by word, line by line, so that even a child with no prior knowledge can understand. 1. Pulakeshin Nitsek had defeated Harsha, but it was not enough. Pulakeshin II was a powerful king from the Chalukya dynasty. Harsha was a powerful king in northern India. Pulakeshin fought Harsha in a big battle and won. But winning one battle does not always mean the enemy is completely defeated. Pulakesh expected that Harsha would become weak after losing, but Harsha was still strong and had other ways to fight back. And 2. Harsha was not a great general, but he was a great diplomat, a person who makes smart plans for war. Diplomat, a person who makes smart political moves, forms alliances, and avoids direct fights. Harsha was not very good at planning battles, but he was very clever in making friends and allies. Instead of fighting Pulakeshin directly again, Harsha used politics to stop him. 3. Harsha used a smart block Pulakeshin's expansion. Pulakeshin wanted to expand his empire after defeating Harsha, but Harsha used alliances to stop him from growing stronger. How did Harsha stop Pulakeshin? To the northeast, Harsha made alliances with nearby kingdoms. These kingdoms became a barrier that blocked Pulakeshin from expanding in that direction. Pulakeshin could not attack Harsha's lands easily anymore. To the northwest, the rulers of Gujarat started to support Harsha. Harsha used political pressure to convince them to be on his side. This meant that Pulakeshin was now surrounded by Harsha's friends on two sides. 4. Pulakeshin was also very smart. He avoided Harsha's trap. Pulakeshin understood what Harsha was doing. He knew that attacking Harsha's allies would be dangerous. If he attacked Gujarat or the northeastern kingdoms, he would have to fight on difficult terrain, mountains, rivers, forests, etc. Harsha could trap him and attack him from behind. Pulakeshin was too clever to fall into this trap. He did not attack Gujarat directly. He did not cross the Narmada River to fight Harsha again. Instead, he started looking for a better target to expand his empire. Even simpler version for a young child, Pulakeshin won a fight against Harsha. 2. But Harsha was smart and made new friends, alliances. 3. These friends blocked Pulakeshin from expanding north and west. 4. Pulakeshin knew fighting there was risky, so he decided to attack somewhere else. This explanation is super clear, flawless, and easy to understand. If you want even more details, just ask. All right. Let me explain this in the simplest way possible, breaking it down word by word, line by line, so even a young child with no knowledge can fully understand. 1. Pulakeshin the wanted to expand his empire, but where? Pulakeshin the was a powerful king from the Chalukya dynasty. He had won a battle against Harsha, but he could not expand north or west because Harsha blocked him. So he looked towards the east, the land of Andhra. Nash 2. Why did Pulakeshin choose Andhra? Andhra had ports for trade. Ports, places where ships arrive and depart. Andhra's ports were connected to big trade networks in the eastern Indian Ocean. Traders brought luxury goods like silk, pearls, and spices. The government collected tariffs, taxes on trade, making the kingdom rich. If Pulakeshin controlled Andhra, he would become even richer. B. Andhra had fertile land. The land in Andhra was very good for farming. Farmers could grow lots of crops, making it valuable. Pulakeshin's soldiers and followers needed land as rewards for their loyalty. If Pulakeshin took Andhra, he could give land to his followers. C. Andhra's rulers were weak. Andhra was not very strong at that time. They were already fighting a war with their southern neighbors, the Pallavas, a Tamil dynasty. This meant Andhra's army was tired and not ready for another war. Pulakeshin saw this as a good chance to attack. Nash 3. The lords of Vengi prepared for war. A. What is Vengi? Vengi is a region in Andhra. It is located in the fertile area between the Krishna and Godavari rivers. This area was the heart of Andhra, where many important rulers lived. B. What did the lords of Vengi do? The news arrived. Pulakeshin II was marching towards Andhra with his army. The rulers of Vengi knew they had to fight to protect their land. Local rulers under them ordered their soldiers to prepare for battle. Everyone got ready for a big war against Pulakeshin II. Even simpler version for a young child. 1. Pulakeshin wanted more land for his kingdom. 2. He could not go north or west because Harsha blocked him. 3. So he decided to attack Andhra in the east. 4. Why Andhra? It had ports, good for trade, made lots of money. It had fertile land, good for farming, gave land to his followers. Its rulers were weak. They were already fighting another war. 5. The rulers of Andhra heard Pulakeshin was soldiers and prepared for war. This is the best, clearest, and easiest explanation possible. If you want even more details, just ask. All right, let me explain this in the simplest way possible, step by step, word by word, line by line, so that even a young child can fully understand. 1. Pulakeshin attacks Vengi to 619 CE. What happened after Pulakeshin defeated Harsha? Pulakeshin II had just won a big battle against Harsha, another powerful king. But instead of resting, he quickly turned east to attack Vengi. By winter 618, spring 619, he marched with his army to conquer Andhra. Attack on Pithapuram. Pithapuram was an important city in Vengi. It had strong walls and was well protected. But Pulakeshin's war elephants attacked the gates and tried to break into the city. War elephants were huge and strong and could smash through defenses. Battle near Kolaru Lake. After attacking Pithapuram, Pulakeshin fought another king near Kolaru Lake. Kolaru Lake is famous for birds, waterfowl today. But back then, it became a bloody battlefield. Pulakeshin's army killed many soldiers. So many people died that the lake turned red with blood for days. Pulakeshin becomes overlord of Andhra. Andhra kings surrender. After seeing Pulakeshin's strong army and brutal victories, the Andhra kings gave up. They accepted him as their overlord, ruler, but there were still some enemies left in the area, like tribes in the eastern Ghats. Chalukya rule expands. Now Pulakeshin had control over land on both sides of India. Western coast controlled Gujarat and Konkan. Eastern coast now controlled Andhra Vengi. This was a big achievement. It made the Chalukya Empire stronger and richer. 3. Pulakeshin divides Andhra among his followers. A. Why did he need to divide the land? Conquering a place is one thing, but keeping control is harder. Pulakeshin needed loyal followers to rule different parts of Vengi. B. How did he divide Andhra? He stopped at Alampur, where two big rivers meet, Krishna River, Tungabhadra River. This place was sacred, holy. He gave parts of Vengi to his vassals, local rulers under him. He allowed them to fight the local people to expand their power. Pulakeshin returns to Vatapi to celebrate. A. What is Vatapi? Vatapi was the capital of the Chalukya Empire. It was built on cliffs, making it a strong fortress. B. How did he celebrate? Pulakeshin returned home as a great conqueror. People cheered for him and threw flowers to welcome him. He celebrated with his family, his sons and queens. He visited the cave temples in Vatapi to thank his gods. Even simpler version for a young child. 1. Pulakeshin Su was a powerful king. 2. He defeated Harsha and then attacked Andhra. 3. He used elephants to break into Pithapuram. 4. He fought out another king at Kolaru Lake and killed many soldiers. 5. The Andhra kings surrendered in Alright, let's break this down step by step, in the simplest words, so that even a young child can fully understand. 1. How big was Pulakeshin II's empire? Pulakeshin II had now created a very large empire. His empire covered most of the Deccan region. It stretched from the Kaveri River in the south to the Narmada River in the north. This means he ruled over a massive area. A. What parts did he control? Southern Gujarat and the Konkan coast, west? He controlled these areas using his own governors, viceroys. Andhra east, he placed his loyal warlords in charge. Deccan, central India, most of it obeyed him, either directly or indirectly. Example. Imagine you're the leader of a school. Instead of handling everything yourself, you appoint class monitors to manage different sections. Similarly, Pulakeshin put his trusted people in charge of different regions. 2. Ruling a big empire was difficult. Having a large empire is great, but controlling it is hard. Different regions had different languages, cultures, and beliefs. People in one place might not listen to a king from far away, so Pulakeshin needed a way to make people respect his rule. Example. Imagine you are a new teacher in a school. Students don't know you yet. How do you make them respect you? You could. 1. Show your power, strict rules. 2. Be kind and win their hearts. 3. Use symbols of authority, like a principal's badge. Pulakeshin chose temples as his symbol of power. 3. Why did Pulakeshin build temples? Temples showed people that he was powerful and divine. In ancient India, kings were often seen as representatives of the gods. By building temples, Pulakeshin could make people believe he was a ruler chosen by the gods. This made it easier for him to control his empire. Example, imagine a king puts up huge posters of himself all over the city. People will see them every day and remember who is in charge. Temples were like ancient posters, reminding people of Pulakeshin's rule. 4. Why were kings moving away from Buddhism? Earlier, many rulers followed Buddhism. But now, more kings were following Puranic Hinduism, a form of Hinduism based on the Puranas. The Puranas were holy books that gave stories about gods like Vishnu and Shiva. These books also gave rules on how kings should rule. Shay, why did kings prefer Puranic Hinduism? Puranic Hinduism said that kings were linked to gods. It taught that a good king was like a protector of religion and society. So, building temples became a way for kings to show their power and justify their rule. Buddhism didn't focus on kings in the same way, so rulers started moving away from it. Example, imagine you are in a group where everyone believes in superheroes. If you say, "I am like Superman," people will respect you more. Similarly, kings use Hinduism to say, "I am chosen by the gods." 5. What did this mean for Pulakeshin's empire? Pulakeshin combined religion with politics. He built temples not just for worship, but as symbols of his rule. People respected temples, so they respected him. This helped him keep control over a huge and diverse empire. Even simpler version for a young child. 1. Pulakeshin II had a huge empire from the Kaveri River south to the Narmada River north. 2. He controlled Gujarat, Konkan, Andhra, and most of Deccan using his trusted rulers. 3. Controlling such a big empire was very hard. To make people obey him, he built temples. 5. Temples made people see him as a ruler chosen by the gods. 6. More kings were moving away from Buddhism to Puranic Hinduism because it gave them more power. 7. Pulakeshin used religion to stay in power and keep his empire united. This is the best and simplest explanation possible. If you want even more details, just ask. Alright, I will explain everything in the simplest way possible, like I'm teaching a young child. I will break it down step by step, using easy words, clear examples, and extra details to make it the best explanation ever. Nahar 1. Who was Pulakeshin I? Pulakeshin I was an ancient king. He ruled in Deccan India a long time ago. He wanted to show everyone he was powerful. 2. What did he do to show power? At first, he performed Vedic sacrifices. These were special religious rituals done by kings. They were done to prove he was important among other powerful people. Example, imagine you want to become class leader. You show off your knowledge to teachers and top students. You do things that only smart and important students understand. That's what Pulakeshin I did with his sacrifices. He wanted to impress Brahmins, generals, poets, and astrologers, not common people. Nah 3. Why did he change his strategy? He realized that sacrifices were not enough. Only a few educated people understood them. He wanted everyone, common people too, to see his power. So, he looked for a more permanent way to show his greatness. Example, imagine you want everyone in school to know you are class leader. Instead of just telling teachers, you put up posters and announce it on the microphone. That's what Pulakeshin I did. He started using temples and sculptures. 4. What was his title? He called himself Shri Prithivi Vallabha. This means beloved of the goddess of earth. It showed that he was linked to the god Vishnu. Why Vishnu? Because Vishnu was a very powerful god in Hinduism, and people respected kings who were connected to him. Example, imagine if you say, "I am the favorite student of the principal." Everyone will respect you more because they know the principal is powerful. That's why Pulakeshin I used Vishnu's name to increase his status. How did he show his connection to Shiva? He did not stop at Vishnu. He also wanted to show he was linked to Shiva, another great god. In northern Deccan, many people worship Shiva. So he built sculptures of Shiva on the cliffs of Vatapi. Why? So that everyone could see and remember him forever. Example, imagine you want both teachers and students to support you. You tell teachers that you are the best student. You tell students that you are their best friend. That's what Pulakeshin I did. He used Vishnu for royal people and Shiva for common people. 6. Why did he use temples and sculptures? Temples and sculptures are permanent. Sacrifices happen once, but temples and statues last forever. Every time people saw the sculptures of Shiva, they also remembered Pulakeshin. Example, think of a statue of a famous leader in a park. Even if the leader is dead, people still see the statue and remember them. That's why Pulakeshin I built sculptures to stay in people's minds forever. 7. Final summary. 1. Pulakeshin I was a king in ancient India. 2. He first performed sacrifices to impress Brahmins and other elites. 3. But common people did not understand sacrifices, so he needed something permanent. 4. He gave himself a powerful title, Shri Prithvi Vallabha, to show his link with Vishnu. 5. He also connected himself to Shiva because Shiva was popular in the Deccan. 6. He built sculptures of Shiva in Vatapi, so people would always remember his power. 7. Temples and sculptures lasted forever, making him famous even after his death. Even simpler version, for a young child, Pulakeshin I was a king who wanted to show his power. First, he did sacrifices, but only smart people understood them. Then he gave himself a big title to make himself look great. He built sculptures of Shiva, so normal people could see his power. Statues and temples last forever, so people would never forget him. This is the clearest, easiest, and best explanation ever. Let me know if you want even more details. All right. I will explain everything step by step in the simplest and easiest words, like I'm teaching a young child. You will understand every single thing, and this will be the best and clearest explanation ever. 1. What did Pulakeshin I do? Pulakeshin I was a great king of the Chalukya dynasty. He wanted to show his power and support for new religious beliefs. To do this, he ordered sculptors to make special statues. These sculptures were totally unique. No other king had anything like them. Example, imagine a king wants everyone to remember him forever. He asks artists to make a giant statue that no one has ever seen before. That way, when people see the statue, they think of him and his greatness. That's what Pulakeshin I did. 2. What was the most special sculpture? The most famous sculpture was of Shiva, the dancing god. It had 18 arms swirling around like a lotus flower. His left foot was just about to touch the ground. This beautiful statue still welcomes visitors today in Vatapi, modern Badami. Example, imagine a dancer moving gracefully. Their hands and feet move in a beautiful rhythm. That's how Shiva's sculpture looked, like a perfect dance frozen in stone. 3. Who continued this work? Pulakeshin I had 2 warlike sons, Mangalakeshin II's father. These sons also built cave temples in different places. Vatapi, Badami, Aryapura, other Chalukya towns in the Malaprabha Valley. Example, imagine a father starts a great project. His sons continue it and make it even bigger and better. That's what happened with Pulakeshin I's sons. They built more temples. #4. Where did they build these temples? They chose special places where people had gathered for centuries. These places had ancient sacred springs and wells, holy water sources, old burial sites where ancestors were remembered, places where local people worshiped nature. Why? Because people already thought these places were holy. The Chalukyas built grand temples there to make them even more special. Example, imagine a huge tree where villagers have prayed for years. A king builds a temple next to it so more people come. The temple becomes a famous place of worship. #5. Did they only build Hindu temples? No. The Chalukyas supported all religions. They also built Buddhist and Jain temples. India in that time had many different beliefs. Kings had to appeal to all groups to keep everyone happy. Example, imagine a king ruling a place with Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains. He builds temples for all of them so everyone respects him. That's exactly what the Chalukyas did. 6. Final summary. Super simple version. 1. Pulakeshin I wanted to show his power, so he made unique sculptures. 2. He built a special statue of dancing Shiva with 18 arms. 3. His 2 sons continued his work and built more cave temples. 4. They chose old sacred places to build new temples. 5. They didn't just build Hindu temples, they also built Buddhist and Jain temples. This is the clearest, easiest, and best explanation ever. Let me know if you want even more details. All right. I will explain this step by step in the simplest, easiest words, like I am teaching a young child. No confusion, no difficult words. only clear, perfect understanding. What did the early Chalukya kings build? The early Chalukya kings built some of the oldest temples in South India. These temples still exist today. They tell us important things about history. Example: imagine a very old book that tells the story of a king's life. These temples are like that book. They show us what happened long ago. 2. Why are these temples important? They tell us about 1. Political fights between different kings. 2. Religious competition between different gods and beliefs. Example: imagine 2 rival cricket teams. Both teams want to win and be the best. They compete hard and show off their skills. In the same way, different kings and religions competed for power. 3. Who were the rivals of the Chalukyas? The Kadamba dynasty of Banavasi was their biggest rival. They wanted power and respect, just like the Chalukyas. Example: imagine 2 shopkeepers in the same market. Both want more customers. They use different tricks to attract people. In the same way, the Chalukyas and Kadambas tried to win over people. 4. Who were the Saptamatrikas? The Kadambas worshipped special goddesses called Saptamatrikas. Saptamatrikas means 7 mothers. These goddesses were believed to give victory in battles. Example: imagine warriors praying to a powerful goddess before fighting. They believe she will help them win. That's what Saptamatrikas were for the Kadambas. 5. How did the Chalukyas compete? Pulakeshin I's sons copied the Kadambas. They used the same Saptamatrika goddesses in their cave temples. This made it look like the 7 mothers were blessing the Chalukyas, not the Kadambas. Example: imagine 2 cricket teams. One team says, "We have the best coach, that's why we win." The rival team hires the same coach to look just as strong. That's what the Chalukyas did. They used the same goddesses to get support. No Man 6. Final summary, super simple version. 1. The Chalukya kings built some of the oldest temples in South India. 2. These temples show us history, who fought whom and which gods were worshipped. 3. The Kadamba dynasty was their big rival. 4. The Kadambas worshipped the 7 mothers, Saptamatrikas, for victory. 5. To compete, the Chalukyas also used the same goddesses in their temples. This is the easiest and best explanation ever. Let me know if you want even more details. Mangalisha and the story of Varaha, explained in the easiest way. Imagine you are a child and I'm telling you a story. Listen carefully and you will understand everything. Who was Mangalisha? Mangalisha was a king. He was from the Chalukya dynasty, a family of kings. He ruled over parts of India a long time ago. What did he do? He ordered or commissioned a sculpture, a stone carving. This sculpture was of Varaha, a form of the god Vishnu. It was made in Cave 3 in Badami, a place in India. This sculpture was painted blue long ago, and some of that paint is still visible today. Who is Varaha? Varaha is one of the forms of Vishnu. He is half man, half boar, a wild pig. Why did Vishnu take the form of Varaha? A demon, evil being, had captured the earth, the goddess. The demon took her deep underwater. Vishnu, in the form of Varaha, rescued the earth from the demon. He lifted her up from the water and brought her back to safety. This happened during a great flood, huge water everywhere. Why did Mangalisha make this sculpture? He wanted to compare himself to Vishnu. Just like Vishnu saved the earth from a demon, Mangalisha thought that he saved his kingdom from enemies. The enemies were the Kadambas and the Kalachuris, other kings and their armies. He wanted people to see him as a protector and a hero. What happened next? Mangalisha's nephew was Pulakeshin II, another king. He liked the Varaha boar symbol. He made it his battle flag, a symbol for his army. Did others use this symbol? Yes. Many kings in India after Pulakeshin II also used the Varaha boar symbol. Even the Bijapur and Vijayanagara empires, many years later, used it. Example to understand better. Imagine, a policeman saves a town from a dangerous gang. He puts up a big statue of a lion in the middle of the town. Why a lion? Because a lion is strong and protects its land. People see the lion statue and think our policeman is as strong and brave as a lion. Now, for many years, future policemen also used a lion as their symbol. In the same way, Mangalisha used Varaha, boar form of Vishnu, to show that he was a great protector. Final summary. 1. Mangalisha was a king from the Chalukya dynasty. 2. He made a sculpture of Varaha, Vishnu's boar form, in Cave 3 in Badami. 3. He compared himself to Vishnu, saying he also saved his people from enemies. 4. His nephew, Pulakeshin the made Varaha the battle symbol. 5. Many kings after him also used the boar symbol for nearly 1,000 years. 6. The idea was simple. Vishnu saved Earth, Mangalisha saved his kingdom. Now, you fully understand this history. Hope you loved it.